You are about to plunge into a kind of darkness that humanity would perhaps rather forget. Centuries ago, long before our cities and technology existed, shocking tales whispered of certain peoples who, under the guidance of their spiritual leaders, delved into practices so frightening they bordered on the unbelievable. People with grim faces, hooded figures, and unimaginable rituals were the center of a dark power in the ancient forests. It was a form of faith that would make our hair stand on end today, a connection to the afterlife that demanded high prices and unthinkable sacrifices. Prepare yourself, because what I'm about to tell you will haunt you. Thousands of years ago, deep in the dense forests of Europe, lived a people surrounded by giant trees and a mysterious kind of magic that dominated every corner of life. At the center of it all were the druids, figures who were not only priests but also judges, teachers, and healers. They were seen as the bridge between the world of men and the world of the gods, possessing knowledge few understood and an authority no one dared question. Their practices were closely guarded, always performed in secret, away from prying eyes, usually in hidden glades or under the shade of ancient oaks, trees they considered sacred and imbued with unparalleled spiritual power. The people feared and revered them, for it was said that a single look or a single word from a druid could change the fate of an entire family for better or worse, and even influence the fertility of the land or the outcome of a major battle. Their wisdom was ancient, passed down by word of mouth for generations, and their rituals were the backbone of all life in that society, dictating feasts, harvests, and even death. One of the most disturbing and least understood aspects of these druids' practices involved sacrifices, especially of animals, performed in ways that sent shivers down the spine. It was no simple slaughter, but a complex ritual filled with dark meaning. Animals such as pigs, oxen, and horses were brought to stone altars amidst sacred groves, not for lack of food, but as offerings to deities the druids believed controlled the weather, the harvest, and fate itself. They saw these actions as a way to communicate with the other world, a universal language understood by the gods. Blood was spilled in specific locations, sometimes in sacred vessels or directly onto the earth, while monotonous chants filled the air, creating a heavy, dense atmosphere. The population, upon observing or even upon learning the details that leaked out about these events, reacted with a mixture of dread and submission, for it was believed that failure to offer enough or in the wrong way would bring misfortune and drought, disease to the village, or even devastating famines that would wipe out the population. The druids' justification was always the same. Everything was to maintain balance, appease the fury of the gods, or obtain blessings for the people, and the people believed blindly. But things became even more sinister when the rituals involved what ancient accounts describe as human sacrifices. Although many avoid discussing this, and some insist they were merely stories told by enemies to frighten, the oldest texts do not hide certain macabre details. It is said that prisoners of war, condemned criminals, or, in moments of extreme desperation, even people selected by chance, were taken to the altars. One of the most shocking rituals involved what became known as the Wicker Man. A giant structure made of intertwined branches in the shape of a human was filled with humans and animals, and then, amid screams and guttural prayers, it was set ablaze. The purifying fire for them was a way to send souls more quickly to the other side, a bridge of smoke and suffering to the gods. Other, less grandiose but equally chilling practices included ritual drownings in murky swamps or striking vital wounds, all observed by a frightened people who believed that every drop of blood spilled guaranteed the prosperity of their crops or victory in future wars. For the druids said the gods required the purest to hear their prayers. Besides bloody sacrifices, the druids performed complex divination rituals, seeking to unravel the secrets of the future and the will of the gods, and this is where things become even more bizarre. They believed that by observing the movements of certain birds, the flow of water, or the behavior of wild animals, they could predict events. However, the most infamous and frightening methods of divination involved the sacrifices themselves. It is said that after killing an animal or a person, The druids would open their bodies and examine their entrails, searching for signs, patterns, and stains that would tell them about the future. The body's reactions to burning, the shapes the smoke took, even a victim's final spasms were interpreted as direct messages from the deities. It was a grotesque and sacred spectacle at once, granting them absolute power over the lives of the people, for they were the only ones capable of deciphering these warnings. The people reacted with a mixture of terror and gratitude as these predictions guided their lives, telling them when to plant, when to marry, and when to go to war, placing unimaginable power in the hands of these enigmatic leaders. The training of a druid was not for everyone. It was a path of rigor and mystery that lasted decades, demanding an almost insane level of dedication and which only intensified their power over the masses. Beginning in childhood, young apprentices were taken to the deepest forests, far from the villages, where they were instructed in secret. There were no books, everything was memorized. Sacred chants, long poems that told the history of the world, complex laws, knowledge of the stars, medicinal herbs, and of course, the rituals that maintained order between the human and spiritual worlds. This lack of written records kept knowledge restricted to a select few, increasing the air of exclusivity and mystery surrounding them. The discipline was severe, testing both mind and body. The common people viewed them with almost reverential respect, knowing that these men were unlike any other. This training made them not only the guardians of the faith but also the sole holders of the civilization's deepest knowledge, giving the druids an almost divine authority and immense cultural and spiritual impact, shaping the very essence of the people. Beyond their darker rituals, the druids were also masters of ceremonies seeking healing and protection, demonstrating the complexity of their influence. They knew every plant and root in the forest, and their hands could transform simple leaves into powerful remedies for illness, wounds, and pain. However, the magical and spiritual element was never absent. Healing rituals could involve lengthy chants, the laying on of hands, and purification with water or smoke, all performed in a sacred setting, often around ancient stones that, for them, stored cosmic energy. People broke arms, contracted fevers, and suffered from mysterious illnesses. They sought the druids with desperation and hope, surrendering themselves completely to their methods. It was the only place where they could find relief. This role as healers further increased the people's trust and dependence on the druids, cementing their image as almost supernatural beings, capable of manipulating the forces of nature for both destruction and salvation, solidifying their power over all aspects of life. Seasonal festivals were crucial moments in the Celtic calendar, all orchestrated by the druids and permeated by an intense and sometimes frightening spirituality. Samhain, for example, what would be our Halloween today, was a time when the line between the world of the living and the dead became blurred, and rituals were performed to guide souls, calm spirits, and predict the future. Great bonfires were lit, and amid the flames, rituals of purification and protection were performed, sometimes with sacrifices. Other festivals, such as Beltane, celebrated fertility and the arrival of summer, but even here, the druid vigilance and the belief that the gods should be appeased with offerings, which could range from grains to, again, animals and humans, permeated the celebrations. The people participated fervently, intertwining their lives with the rhythm of nature and druidic rituals. These celebrations were not just parties, they were collective acts of faith that reinforced the people's worldview, their dependence on the cycles of nature, and the unquestionable power of the druids as intermediaries between the material and spiritual worlds, allowing the population to live a life controlled and manipulated by them. Contemplating these ancient practices, so full of mystery and rituals that seem brutal to us today, makes us pause and reflect on our own journey. While they sought peace and protection in acts that shock us, we have the privilege of finding these refuges in other ways. Amidst the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, filled with pressure and too much information, seeking spiritual balance and inner peace becomes more essential than ever. We don't need frightening bonfires or soul-searching to connect with what lies beyond. Simple faith and the daily practice of forgiveness, for ourselves and others, are powerful portals to true inner conversion. Constant prayer, prayed with a sincere heart, is our greatest tool of spiritual protection, a shield against the turmoil of the world. And that's why I insist, keep writing in the comments the names of all the people who need a special prayer. I'll pray the rosary for all of them at the end of the video, asking them to find the true peace, healing, and protection they so desperately yearn for. I'd love to hear what you felt as you listened to these shocking accounts of antiquity. What thoughts came to mind? Did you already know anything similar about the druids or other ancient cultures? Share your reactions, your questions, or any feelings this story evoked in you. Your opinion is very important to us and enriches our community. And if you enjoyed the video and felt inspired by this topic, please don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content, and hit the notification bell. There's much more to come. In future videos, we'll delve into other fascinating mysteries and shocking themes from antiquity that promise to surprise you even more. Best regards, and until the next revelation.